Let's see how old-fashioned these old fashions are. Hello and welcome to Intoxicated Masculinity. If it's Wednesday, we have a cocktail video coming at you. In this case, we have a cocktail video with somebody, and it's Kale. In this case, we have reached the end of Old-Fashioned October. And for the last cocktail of Old-Fashioned October, we will try some pre-made Old Fashions. So we've tried pre-made and canned cocktails on this channel before with, let's just say, varying results. I have a little bit higher expectations on this because the ones we're trying are actually made with bourbons and ryes, and they tell us on the bottle what they are made with. So it's possible we might have some better results this time. But before we can taste some pre-made Old Fashions, I need to make an Old Fashioned so we can test these out. So let's go ahead and get our ingredients together. Okay, and as I said before, the first time we made our whiskey cocktail, an improved whiskey cocktail, I poured that over ice, and I'm not going to make that same mistake this time, so we're going to start off with a mixing glass with no ice in it. We are going to start off
with 2/3 of a tablespoon of sugar.
Well, so this is actually 2/3 of a tablespoon, but it's basically 2 teaspoons, because a teaspoon is a third of a tablespoon. So we got our 2 teaspoons in for our 2 Old Fashions. We're then going to toss in 4 teaspoons of water. Of course, what would our Old Fashioned be without our Angostura bitters? We're going to do 4 dashes, probably do 5 just to be on the safe side. Alright, let's go ahead and mix that up just a little bit before we put our whiskey in. Now once again, kind of like we described in our other video, since we're using sugar, because this is a very traditional recipe, all your sugar is not going to get dissolved. So if you do not want to make sort of an original version of this, you could just use a simple syrup, and the sugar would already be dissolved in there.
It looks very thick.
Well, like I said, in fact, in the original recipe, I said this during the video, usually this cocktail would have been served with a spoon already in it, so you could kind of continue to stir it as you're drinking the cocktail. And again, I'm using the sugar to make this kind of the original recipe. Honestly, if I'm making this for myself, I would probably just use a simple syrup. It's kind of simpler, as the name might imply. All right, we're going to go ahead and add in. Well, we're making 2, so we're going to add in 4 ounces of our rye whiskey. Now, originally, obviously, we did this in the video. We did this with both a rye whiskey and a bourbon. I was very much in favor of the bourbon over the rye, so we're just going to continue with the rye. Before we get
Why is that?
I just felt like the rye comes off with more flavor. The bourbon, well, so your rye is coming off with a spicier flavor. And I feel like that's going to cut through the sweetness of the sugar and the bitters and stuff like that, whereas the bourbon kind of just doesn't. Like I said, again, if you're making this original recipe, don't worry that your sugar's not getting entirely dissolved. That's just how this cocktail originated. Now let's get some ice in here, get some glasses and get some garnish, and we'll taste our original and see what Kel thinks of it. Okay, we're just going to mix that up. It's a good idea, just keep your fingers on the bottom of the glass, just kind of feel the cooling happening. Once you have the desired level of cooling and dilution.
You've said that before. Like you're just going for...
Yeah, this one, I mean, it's obviously up to each individual person. I just wanted to have a, nice amount of cooling to it. And now let's go ahead and strain that into our rocks glasses.
And a single strain because it's not a citrus-based beverage.
Well, it's actually sort of a little more complicated than that. So I'll double strain some things even if there's not citrus in there. But in this case, we just stirred it, so we haven't shaken it up. We're not going to have ice chips in there. One of the main things you're getting out of when you're double straining is pulp from your citrus, but also it's ice chips too. But we shouldn't have to really worry about that here. It's a dribbly glass.
My coffee pot does that all the time.
mystery as old as time. All right, and there it is. And as I said in the video, I am a big fan of the lemon rather than the orange. So I'm gonna get 2 lemon twists. Express the oils.
A twist, not a pinch.
All right.
Oh, you don't.
There we have our traditional old-fashioned.
All right. Salud.
Salute. It's funny, just as I was saying you don't get ice chips, I got an ice chip. It happens though. I don't know, I really like it. It's fun, it's alive, you get the citrus. Again, with the bourbon, I feel like it gets lost. Here you got the spiciness of the rye is coming out, and I think it really makes the drink. What do you think?
I think it is really well balanced. I'm getting the lemon, I'm getting a little sweet, I'm getting the rye. Really well balanced. It flows over the palate well. It's got a nice mouth feel to it, the viscosity of it. Just overall, a really pleasant sipping drink.
Yeah, I'm sort of on record as not being a big fan of the old fashioned. I do like this one. Again, I think the lemon just feels more appropriate. But for the other drinks, we're going to sort of garnish those in a little bit different way. But now that we have tried traditional old fashioned, we're going to get out our vast array of pre-made old fashions. We'll talk a little bit about them, and then we will drink them and put them into our bodies, because that's the best part of it. All right, so we have our contenders in front of us, and I apologize I'm looking down because I want to look at my notes in this to make sure I get all these correct. So first we have Cody Road. So Cody Road is a distillery that is out in LeClaire, Iowa, just right there on the Mississippi River. So this is Cody Road bourbon. So this is going to be a bourbon old-fashioned. It is 30% 60 proof. In this one, I'm going to go with what they request for the garnish, because I think that's the only way to do these kind of justice. And they request an orange peel, or excuse me, an orange twist and a candied cherry. Again, that is, a lot of people do that nowadays. It's not my preferred, obviously, but that is what people seem to like, or some people do. Next we have our On the Rocks. So this uses Knob Creek bourbon. I believe it's the bourbon. Yeah, so this is using a Knob Creek bourbon. I'm assuming it's probably just a 9-year 100 proof, which I'm a big fan of, so that can be pretty interesting. Our On the Rocks cocktails in the past have been a little hit and miss, but we'll have to see. And this is 35% and 70 proof. Next we have our Handy and Schiller. So I believe this is actually Sazerac. No, I'm sorry, this isn't. Yeah, oh, excuse me, it is. Yeah, so we actually have 2 Sazerac products. So this is Sazerac, and this is going to be using Buffalo Trace bourbon. One other thing odd, so on the Knob Creek, it doesn't actually list what it sort of suggests as the garnish. In that case, I think I'm just going to use an orange twist just to make sure it is sort of on the same footing as everybody else. The Handy and Schiller, 42%, 84 proof, and also asking for an orange twist. Finally, we have next, we have our High West. So this, I believe, is using a bourbon. This is using a bourbon and a rye. So I don't know exactly what their ratio is there. So this will be probably the closest, well, hypothetically, this will be the closest to what we made. This is High West, it's using their...
I have something to say about their products.
Yes.
Not right now, we'll get to it.
Okay. So this is using their rye and their whiskey, which means they're probably mostly using MGP whiskey. And finally, this is one I found at the last minute. So this is Old Fashioned 1792. So that is from the Barton 1792 distillery. Oh, and I should say, the High West is coming at 43 proof, or excuse me, 43%, 86 proof. They recommend an orange and a lemon twist. That's kind of interesting. And finally, we have our Old Fashioned 1792. Come from Barton Distillery. They don't recommend a garnish, but again, I'm going to go ahead and just use an orange twist. And this comes in at 35% and 70 proof. So I think the best thing to do is to get some ice in our glasses, come back, pour these things, and try them and see what we think. And again, we're going to be kind of testing them versus our traditional old fashions. So we've got a rock in each glass. So what I'm going to do is pour an ounce of each, starting off on our right here with the Cody Road. Kale providing sound design.
Goigle, goigle.
Next, we're going with our Knob Creek on the rocks. In this case, literally. Once again, 1 ounce.
Because that's not actually ice, it's just a really cold rock.
It is. Just got it from the garden. The garden by the valley. Alright, once again, going for our Handy and Schiller. I want to say Schiller for some reason. The color on these is kind of interesting. They're all a little bit different. This is definitely on the darker side.
Is that indicative of aging, or do you think that's a coloring that they're adding?
We really don't know, since we don't have, I mean, we know that these are all going to be sugar, bitters, and a spirit. We don't know the ratios, and we don't know anything about the actual spirit in here other than who makes it. So, in this case...
Well, like, this is pretty similar to the color of the Angostura bitters. I think that's probably contributing a lot to the color in a couple of these.
And I should say, by the way, I don't have all the same glasses, so I'm kind of forced to... It looks like there's less in here, but these glasses are just a little bit bigger, so I apologize for that. And finally, going for our 1792 Old Fashioned from the Barton 1792 Distillery. And if I didn't make that clear before, so this is Buffalo Trace, this is Sazerac, this is Barton 1792, this is also Sazerac, so it's the same corporation, but 2 different distilleries.
So that's not Barton. Or not Buffalo Trace.
No, this is Barton. So Buffalo Trace is in Frankfurt, and Barton 1792 is in Bardstown. All right. So let me go ahead and grab our garnishes. Okay, so for our Cody Road, we are going to do a orange twist and a candied cherry. So we're going to start off, express our orange, and then we are going to grab Luxardo cherry.
The best cherries in the universe.
I don't know, there's actually another brand that I just got at Costco recently that looks like they're pretty good, so maybe one of these days I'll be forced, against my will, to just sit around and eat candied cherries, which sounds just like a trial.
You got to do your research, man.
It's very important. It's not getting drunk, it's tasting.
It's classy.
There we have that. So that is the only one that specifically calls for cherries. So that's the only one we're going to put those in. Next one is our Knob Creek.
Just an orange twist?
This is just going to be, yep, just an orange twist. Put that in there. Express that. Or express that and put that in there.
Express yourself.
All right, and our Schiller, I keep saying that. Handy and Schiller. I don't know why I couldn't put an F in there. So this is going to be a orange twist. Just an orange twist, once again. Again, express. Yeah.
And for anyone who's curious, he's probably said this before, but he's rubbing the oils around the rim of the glass so you'll actually taste that as well.
One of our interesting ones here is going to be our High West. That is calling for a orange and a lemon. So get our twists off of both of our fruits. Now again, I have been sort of falling off on doing my garnishes a bit lately, but I think in this case, especially to give these cocktails kind of the fair chance that they deserve, I think it's important to go ahead and do that. And do our orange and our lemon. orange,
And a lemon.
and a lemon. And finally, we have our Barton 1792, which does not call for a garnish.
At all.
But to be fair, we're going to go ahead and toss orange on there.
What if it's not fair? What if that's the advantage that puts it over the top? What if this is the best pre-made old-fashioned ever?
Well, we are about to find out. All right, now we get to do my favorite part, which is tasting them. So we're going to start off with our Cody Road. And I think, based on feeling the glass, it looks like that's had a chance to cool that down a little bit. Actually, first I'm going to start off with the original. Once again, really good. I really like that. It's kind of interesting, Ben. I say I've never been a fan of the old fashioned. This is kind of my introduction to finally enjoying it a little bit. That's interesting. So it goes to show you that, like comparing these to flavor forwardness, I think our original old fashioned is much more flavor forward. And I think that is owing a not insignificant amount to the rye. Here we're doing a bourbon.
I get what you meant about the bourbon being a lot sweeter. Because this, I mean, it's almost there, but like it doesn't have that boldness of the rye.
It has a nice, rich sort of undertone to it. I don't think I'd hate this if somebody served it for me, but it definitely is not as. Again, the orange to me sort of falls apart a little bit more than I think that the lemon does.
I can definitely get orange in there.
Yeah, but compared to like the citrus notes on this, I think the citrus notes really come off. Whereas here they're there, but they're definitely more in the background. The cherry's really more there for looks than anything else. It's not a bad cocktail. I don't hate it. What do you think?
Not terrible. Not as good as the original that you made, though.
It's a very low key cocktail. It's not bad. It's just kind of.
Well, like I said, yeah. I mean, you got the bourbon, you got your sweetness, you got a little bit of citrus in there, but it's so blah after tasting this one.
It doesn't jump out. It doesn't jump out. Let's try our Knob Creek. And again, just coloration based. This is definitely a lighter color. Don't really get much in the nose.
Yeah, almost nothing.
I think this is better than that, though, don't you think? I feel like I get the bourbon on here. Well, maybe not. I don't know. These are different. This, to me, has a more understated palate to it, but I feel like it's more... I sort of like the flavor, but there's less of it here. Here, there's more flavor, but I like it less, if that makes any sense.
I'm getting a little bit of astringency out of it, which you shouldn't be getting out of a cocktail, whether it's pre-made or not.
Well, certainly out of a Knob Creek. Also, I think I'm not getting much in the way of bitters on this. I'm getting some sweetness and I'm getting some bourbon, and yeah, I think you're right. I think there is a little bit of astringency there. Yeah, man, On the Rocks has been real spotty for me. Their cocktails have just been real spotty for me.
It's like the toilet wine we used to make back in the prison.
I wouldn't say it's quite that bad. All right, so let's move on to our Buffalo Trace. So if you see how fast Buffalo Trace sells these days, this should be the best thing that's ever been created by human hands, and not just based on a giant bubble in the bourbon industry. Did I say
Whatever
bubble?
do you mean?
I should probably. All right, salud. Okay, that's a lot better. That's significantly better than the other ones. I still feel like the bourbon isn't doing a ton of work in it, though. But the bitters are there, the sweetness is there. I would be happy if somebody served this to me as an old-fashioned in a bar. I would not be disappointed.
Getting a lot more citrus out of it.
in my mind, I still kind of like the original better, but that's not bad. That's really not bad.
Yeah, I think the problem is with pre-made cocktails, and we've been surprised. The Mountain Dew one surprised the shit out of me, to be honest.
Go back and watch our hard Mountain Dew tasting, which turned out so much better than we thought it was going to.
Even after we went crazy and started mixing stuff, it was still pretty good. Which is, how is this happening? But no, it's like, it's never going to be as good as if you made it yourself, I don't think.
But this is the first one of these that I've tasted where I would say, again, if I was served that in a bar, I wouldn't be angry. Again, I would use a rye, and I think it tastes better with the rye. And again, the ones we made, I think, have tasted a little bit more fresh. But I don't hate that. But the one that I've been the most interested in is this one. So this is High West. High West is a distillery out in Utah. Again, they're using primarily MGP products, but I do think they pick some very good ryes. The Rendezvous rye they make, or they bottle anyway, I think is one of the better of the MGP ryes. So if this has some rye in it, this has the potential to be really, really good. This, I believe, also is the most expensive. I got this one on sale for about $40 a bottle. I can't remember exactly what each one were. This was, I think, $25. The full size, which these actually come in a 375 milliliter bottle, I think are about $18. That's actually kind of expensive since it's only half size, and I think this is about $40 regular price. So this is the most expensive.
I have high hopes for this one, for High West. However, I will say this about their products, is I've noticed when I am shopping that it seems like their price point is way higher than it probably should be.
It depends. It really depends. That's a longer conversation. If you can get their double rye on sale, for example, here in town, there's one of our liquor stores that has High West double rye on sale for about $33. I think that's great. That's a great deal, and okay. I would jump on that all day. Now, the Rendezvous is going to set you back between $70 and $80, which that's a little bit tougher sell. I do like that rye quite a bit, but it is a little bit tougher sell. But that being said,
it's almost there.
I've got to say, I think this is, from this one, I think this is a step back. I am tasting rye in there, but there's bourbon too. And I think the bourbon and I don't know why they mixed bourbon and rye in that.
They must have put very little rye.
I'm getting some spiciness on it. There's a little bit of black pepper, not a lot.
I mean, it's got all the markers.
Again, I go back to the original, and remember, this has now been diluting a little bit, and yet I still like this a lot better. I'm a little disappointed in that, to be honest. I'm not disappointed because I think it's bad necessarily. I don't think it's bad, but it's not amazing either. And especially given that this is the most expensive of these particular cocktails, it should be going a lot farther flavor-wise than it's going.
Yeah, it's just, that's the thing. Like, it's there. It's just not there. You know,
I think one thing I wonder is if a lot of these guys are worried about putting too much in the way of a bitter ingredient in here. And some of these definitely are Knob Creek, and possibly all of them to some degree or another, seem to be lacking a little bit in that bitterness. Bitterness is an integral part to an old-fashioned. And if you start to cut that back too much, you basically just have sugary whiskey. Which, if you like sugary whiskey, that's great, but I don't particularly like sugary whiskey. So
yeah, because you're not a 14-year-old girl.
Well, I could be. All right, so now we're going to go with our 1792 Old Fashioned. I think this might be the cheapest. This was $13 for a. I think this is a 375 milliliter bottle. Yeah. So this is this is 26. So actually, the Cody Road and the Barton 1782 are about the same. So this would be about $26 if you got a full 750 bottle of it. So same price on those, basically.
I kind of have high hopes for this one too. So.
Not a lot there. It's not, again, it's not bad. None of these are really bad. I do kind of feel like they miss out on the basic idea of an old fashioned. Again, I'm not getting really any bitters on this. There's no bitter content to it that I'm tasting. Maybe a tiny bit.
They all have kind of that sweet whiskey thing, and then like a couple of them have a little bit more. But
I want to go back down the line one time real quickly. Oh, these are diluting a little bit, but I would like to try one more time because I think I know which one is my best in show, but I kind of want to double check.
Compare. Yeah, even watered down, that still tastes better. All right.
I'm a little higher on the Knob Creek the second time I tried it.
So it's kicking in. This might be better if I went with it.
Oh my god, he's a monster. By the way, those Luxardo maraschino cherries are delicious. I mean, I make excuses to make cocktails that have them in there just so you can eat them at the end.
That's way better like that.
This tastes totally like a maraschino cherry now.
Alright. So now all I taste is freaking cherry.
Which, by the way, sort of going back to where we started off with all of this, with the whiskey cocktail and the improved whiskey cocktail.
That is by far my bottom. I don't...
Really? But let me finish. So we started off with the whiskey cocktail and the improved whiskey cocktail. With the improved whiskey cocktail, you started having people bring in new flavors. And you started having people bring in things like maraschino liqueur. Because that flavor is really good. And bringing that into a whiskey cocktail can be very helpful to it.
The most disappointing part about that is that you spend that much money on it, and
I mean, at retail,
it's just phoning it in with the rest of them.
At retail, this is, I think, about a $50 or $55 bottle, which I didn't pay, by the way. It was on sale, but still, I mean, I paid $40 for it, and yeah, $40. It's a little disappointing. Again, I want to reiterate. I don't think any of these are terrible. So I think we're sort of thinking through our rankings on these. Again, spoiler alert. My advice would be to make your own, because
this is number one.
It's just so light and vibrant, and you got spice. I don't know. It works so much better. So let's start at the bottom. What was your least favorite? You stick with the Knob Creek? Yeah, I think that's right. I'm sort of on the fence to some degree, but there's part of me that is also thinking value. And value-wise, I really have to say the High West is probably the worst value.
It's quite disappointing.
I think if I had to rank these, or give you my number one from a value perspective, I would probably go with the 1792 Old Fashioned. As a $26 between these two, I think that is a little bit superior. The Cody Road is not bad. Again, especially if you see this on sale somewhere, I would probably smack it up if you especially if you like Old Fashions. But I think for $26 for the equivalent of a $7.50, I think you're not going to go wrong there. But I think for me, best in show is definitely the Handy N Schiller, and I'm going to not put an F in there this time.
That was my number one as well.
Yeah, it's definitely the best. Given the price point, though, I mean, this is almost twice as expensive as these two. And while it is better than those two, I don't know if it is twice as better as those two.
Bang for your buck, I would lean this way then.
Yeah, I think I would too. Or what you could do is just go to your local liquor store, buy a bottle of rye, stop by the produce section, buy some lemons, get some bitters, and get some sugar, and just make your own. And you can literally make it in the glass, and it'll be very, very easy. And I think that.
Or you just make some simple syrup and put it in a bottle.
And by the way, that's one thing just to foreshadow. I think we will be doing an episode about various simples syrup. I have been kind of experimenting a little bit with some new simples, and I think that it might be interesting to try some cocktails with different kinds of simple syrup. But on that bombshell, so we are going to give 2 awards. We're going to give a best in show and a bang for your buck. I think that's pretty fair because that's what we talked about. And our bang for your buck is going to be our 1792 Old Fashioned, and our best in show is going to be our Handy and Schiller without any F's in there anywhere. There's no F's, so don't put them in there.
And then down the line, I would probably go as far as
just best. Yeah, this is probably next best.
This one, then Cody Road, and then obviously the knob. I don't like tasting the knob.
It's not for everybody. All right, on that bombshell, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And also thank you for watching Old Fashioned October. And I want to.
Watching me.
I'm putting the graphic in, Kale.
Oh, there's a graphic.
Yeah, hold on.
Shit's getting serious.
Old Fashioned October. All right, I want to thank everybody for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and have a good drink.
And now, through the magic of television,